with due respect to the Honorable Minister, I am not fully satisfied with the answer, because how many flights were cancelled due to various reasons? Broadly speaking, 3 reasons were given by the Minister. One is weather, second one is technical. All these reasons, we are traveling in the advanced system of scientific field. I can understand the technical reasons, suddenly a flight can be cancelled. For weather and commercial reasons, it can be foreseen early, an advance intimation to be given, because suppose I booked a ticket, it may be for death or it may be for a very important function, the consequences will be irreparable. So that my first question is, you are having omnipotent authority to the statutory body, whether the government is going to devise a detailed guidelines with the do's and don'ts to avoid such hardship, because people are forced to sit on the tarmac and used to take food. Rightly, the Director General of your Civil Aviation said it is a violation of apparent discipline. So such a grave incidents are taken place, what will be the comprehensive policy of the government with the do's and don'ts, with the punitive provisions, to avoid all these things? Thank you, sir.
Sir, Rajaji has raised a very pertinent question, but I'd like to just take his attention to the data. And if one actually sees the data of cancellations in our country, due to weather, it is 0.3% this year. Commercial and operation, it is 0.2%. And technical, it is 0.2%. So if you look at our fleet size, which has doubled in the last 10 years, if you look at the number of air traffic movements per week, which has grown by 22% only in the last 2 years, even if you take all 3 reasons for cancellations together, it comes to 0.7% of our total air traffic movements in civil aviation across the country. Point number 1. Point number 2, he is absolutely right that in the event of a cancellation or a delay, there are 2 things that need to be taken care of, and I'd like to emphasize to him. He has only emphasized one area, which is the security concerns with regard to an airport being integral to the security of a country. And therefore, any infringement on that, strict action must be taken. But along with that, Rajaji, is also another very important point, that any inconvenience to passengers on that account, and the very fact that an aircraft in Mumbai was parked on the tarmac and passengers had to have their meals on a tarmac, is unacceptable as far as we are concerned. There was no reason for that to have happened. The airline should have radioed the airport in advance. That plane should have been parked at a air terminal with an apron. Passengers should have been disembarked. They should have been given food properly. Then when the plane was ready, they should have been boarded again and then taken to their destination. We have imposed a fine on both the airline and the airport because it is unacceptable to us on both counts. 1, inconvenience to passengers, and 2nd, infringement of security. That, though, I must say, happened due to a very adverse fog condition, Speaker Sir. This year, we have not experienced the kind of fog condition that we have experienced this year in the last decade or even more than that. Even though that being the case, we have put in place now regulations with regard to delays. If a flight gets delayed more than 3 hours, it is imperative that the airline cancel it. I will not brook any inconvenience to my passengers beyond 3 hours. They should be put onto another flight. And most importantly, with regard to ILS and Cat 1 and Cat 2 and Cat 3, we have close to about 33 ILS systems that we are putting in place in multiple airports today, 16 where equipment is being brought, and from where we had only 1 airport with ILS system in 2014, we have, with Cat 3 system, we have now 6 airports with Cat 3 systems, and total 50 airports which have ILS and Cat 1 and Cat 3.
Supplementary.
Sir, my second supplementary is with regard to tariff. I think that my understanding may be right or wrong. The tariff is not directly fixed by the government. I think that, but in other words, there must be some say in fixing the tariff acceptable to the government, acceptable to the people. Sir, as far as the refund is concerned and traffic is concerned, I think that irrational ups and downs are there. Whether the government is going to control properly with due sense or not.
Sir, this question was directly with regard to fog-related delays, not related to airfare. But I would like to inform Rajaji through you that we are a deregulated sector. And I don't think his intention is to want us to regulate a deregulated sector. Having said that, we must also understand that the civil aviation industry, not in India, but across the world globally, is a seasonal industry. So you have periods of high traffic and you have periods of low traffic. Most importantly, from Dasera till middle of Jan is your high season. Then from Jan to April is your low season. Then children's holidays start in May and you have high season again until June. Monsoon sets in and you have a low season. This is the trend across the world. And therefore, there are hikes in tariff in high season and there are lows in tariff in the low season. It is important for us as members of parliament as well to compare apples to apples. So you must compare a high tariff season with the high tariff season of last year and a low tariff season with a low tariff season of last year. And if we actually do that comparison, you will see that there has been a 10 to 12% reduction in tariffs across the board. The only time when there was an inordinate increase in tariff was on the 5th of June when I took a meeting last year, 2022, when we had two situations occurring at the same time. A, we were in high season, and B, unfortunately, one of our airlines was totally on ground, go first. So 53 planes suddenly in a fleet of 700 were just parked on the ground. This resulted in high tariff in 3 or 4 cities, mainly Pune, Leh, Srinagar, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, 4 or 5 cities. I constituted a meeting immediately. Within 2 weeks of that, those tariffs were also brought down with our tariff monitoring unit from DGCA.
Sri A. Ganesh Murthy.
எனக்கு முன்னாலே நம்முடைய உறுப்பினர் ராஜா அவர்கள் எழுப்பிய கேள்விக்கு
चालू है माइक, आप तो बोलिए ऑनरेबल मेंबर प्लीज स्पीक.
ராஜா அவர்கள் எழுப்பிய கேள்விக்கு அமைச்சர் அவர்கள் விரிவான பதிலை தந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அதில் சில சந்தேகங்களை நான் அறிந்து கொள்ள விரும்புகிறேன். தொழில் காரணமாகவும் காற்று வெள்ளம் போன்ற காரணங்களால் ரத்து செய்யப்படுகிற போது முன்கூட்டியே அறிந்து அதற்கு வேறு விமான சேவையை செய்து தருவதற்கு அரசு நடவடிக்கை எடுக்குமா? இன்றைக்கு பல்வேறு இடங்களிலே புதிதாக நூற்றுக்கணக்கான விமான நிலையங்களை தொடங்குகிறார்கள். அதனுடைய பயன் என்ன? அதெல்லாம் தனியார் அனுபவத்திற்காக.
उनका प्रश्न ये है कि बाढ़ वगैरह आ जाती है, उसकी जानकारी आपको पहले से मिल जाती है. वो प्रश्न है उनका.
அதற்காகத்தான் அது திறக்கப்படுகிறதா? ஏழை எளியோருடைய பயன்பாட்டிற்கு திறக்கப்படுகிறதா?
Floods. So we are an industry which is in the air. So actually, floods is not something that affects us directly. Weather, of course, does, but not necessarily floods. And as far as weather is concerned, I have already answered the question. When fog is something that you cannot ascertain before, but when the RVR, runway visibility range, goes lower than 550 meters, that's a fog condition. And depending on the category of ILS and Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, you can permit takeoffs and landings. And let me assure the House that our capability in Delhi and 1 or 2 other metros is even beyond the Western world in terms of both. You need 3 conditions. You need an airport to have capability, you need to have an airplane to have capability, and you need pilots to have the capability. On all 3 counts, in many airports, we are ahead of the Western world.